Hi there, this is Art and Such with my Rainbow Loom tutorial for Raiden from Mortal Kombat. And I'm going to say this is an advanced level project because we'll be dealing with some tight bands and with some thick layers of bands. For this pattern you're going to need white bands, black bands, navy bands, skin tone, a pale skin tone, blue bands or beads for the eyes. I'm going to use turquoise bands this time. And for the hat, I originally used a darker skin shade. I'm going to show you today using a brown, but you probably want something more like this. And to stiffen up the back, I won't be doing this part with you, but you will probably want a paper clip, which you will unfold and slide through, bend in using some thin pliers. Okay, so we're ready to get started. We do need a double loom for the hat. And again, I'm going to kind of cheat here to make this a little easier to see and a little faster for me to do. Instead of placing 2 bands on each, which is what you'll see me do, you're going to be taking your singles, doubling them over, and placing 1 doubled over band on each of the pegs that I use here. So you're going to go and count down to your 7th peg on the far side and come down once diagonally. This takes you to your 6th peg from the bottom on your next side. Again, you're going to take a single, double it over, and come down from the 7th side to the 5th on the next row. So we make a little triangle. And from here, you're going to be taking single, doubled over bands and coming down diagonally until you reach either side, either end of the loom. You can pause this at any time to catch up. As I said, I'm doing the double bands for expediency here. And they're a little bit easier to see. With the brown, I mean, rather than the skin tone on this. Okay, once you have your pyramid here, your triangle, we need to fill in the bottom, and we're going to come down the bottom, again using doubled over singles. I should also mention my loom here isn't very strong. It tends to pop apart when I use a lot of tight bands, so I avoid it when I can. These are all doubled over singles for you. We go right until the 2nd peg from the bottom where we meet up with our first one here. Okay. We're going to take doubled over single bands and come down the middle, straight down. Now I suppose you could always do it the way that I'm doing it with just double bands, but it is going to be a lot thicker, as you'll see when I'm done. And from here we go along the edge, and for each of these pegs coming down we'll fill in the vertical rows below. And this goes for both sides of that center row. Okay, let me stop and show you here, and then we'll finish up the other side. Okay, for our holding bands, we're going to be doing a little bit of stretching here. We take a single, we come across the second row, which has 3. For our next row, we're going to come across the first 5, well, all 5 I should say, and our third row, fourth row, if you're counting down, we're going to stretch 1 across 4 pegs and stretch another band across the next 4 pegs, so it'll overlap in the middle. Second to last, we stretch 4 on the other side, opposite end, and 4 in the middle. So again, we're going to get an overlap, and our last row we don't have to worry about. You're going to take a capping band for the bottom right, loop it tight, 1, 2, 3, and on your left side, capping band, loop it 1, 2, 3 times, because we are going to be moving up from either end. So let's start at the right here. Come under your capping band and bring your first doubled over single up and straight. Now we're going to come underneath on that second peg from the side and take the doubled over single back up to the peg above it. Alright, let's proceed. That's our pattern. We're going to go up, like in 1, up 1, in 1, up 1, and we can finish the vertical rows as we go. So loop forward, take your your doubled over bands, you'll see 2 loops, bring it up and bring the next one up. And we're going to repeat that all the way to the end. Forward and loop the side ones upward. Stay inside your crazy capping bands here, because some of them we looped and overlapped in funny ways, remember? Let's try to catch that other one. You are going to be working with a lot of tension because your bands are doubled over, so just be careful as you go. Hold your bands down, and if anything snaps off, what you can do is take a new one, double it over, put it on the peg that it's snapped from, bring it under, loop it from underneath and bring it on top again. I don't know if that helps, but I did have a couple of bands snap when I did this, so thought I would throw in that note. Okay, this is our talisman. I always like getting to the longest of the rows and getting it done, and then it's counting down to easy from there. This means we're past the halfway point of our little triangle, and we've got the one that was had the biggest amount of work involved in it. And you can see I'm holding my loom down really firmly here with my left hand. I don't want it to pop up even with the reduced tension that I'm working with. But you do whatever's comfortable and whatever you find works and keeps things together. Almost done. You're grabbing 2 bands each time, otherwise you're going to have things popping out and you're going to have a little bit less structural integrity here. Now, which one am I looking for? Try that again. here and come to the very end. Now from here we are almost done. We just need to loop up the sides of our pyramid. So come to the bottom right, slide under that capping band, take your doubled over single and reach it up and forward. And we go straight to the top. On the left side, we do the same thing. Go under your cap band, and you're only going to get the bottom two bands. It's a little bit harder on this side. I'm actually going to pull these to the outside so I can see them and catch them more easily. There, that's the hardest of them. Slip inside, get your hook underneath. Pull your two and wiggle them around from the back. If you need as you go, and I should have mentioned this earlier, if your loom is getting really tight and you have some sections looped up, you can always start to ease the secured pieces off. Like if I wanted right now, I could pull off the bottom ones here. And once you take a few off, sometimes that makes the loom a little bit less tight. But you do want to make sure your pieces are in place before you remove them. I think I'm actually going to turn this around here for a second. Okay. I'll tell you though, after this, the rest of the body is pretty straightforward. We will be working with a lot of bands in part, but no doubled over bands really. And when we get to the last section, the only sort of complicated part is putting the parts of the head together, because we're going to do the little black cowl separately and by hand. Alright, take one, or if you'd like, two bands, put them on your left finger. You're going to take the open part of your hook and point it away from you to the left through the bands. Catch your one or two securing bands and slide it through. And then we can place one end over the other and very carefully remove this from your loom. As I said, lots of tension. You don't want any bands to snap as you have gotten to all of this trouble already. If this is awkward for you, you can put your band onto a holding hook right now as you remove this. Okay, now you can see that mine is really massive since I used the double bands instead of the doubled over, but yours should look a little closer to this size. You're going to take your holding band, decide on a back side, and slide your holding band, your securing band through a couple of other bands, and you can place it onto a C-clip. Now, one other note, again, before we take our hat and put it to the side, is that you might find that your hat is curling in, And as I said, as a solution, all I did on mine was I stuck a straightened out paper clip through, and I just folded the ends inwards. It doesn't show, and it gives it some really good hold. And I wove it through a little bit. So you can put your hat on the side, and you will need a single loom with your middle row just above the other 2 rows, and we can come back and start on the body. So now we can start on the arms. I'm going to do both with you. We take 2 skin tone bands, wrap them twice onto the hook, and slide onto 2 skin tone bands. This goes onto 1 set of double black bands. So take 2 black bands, slide them on, and then we're going to have 2 sets of 3 bands, all black. If you do have a hard time working with the thicker numbers on the arms, you can make them smaller and just have sets of 2 all the way, but you won't get as much of the muscle definition that I'm trying to show here. So that was 1 set of double black, 2 sets of triple black. We're going to put on 2 sets of triple white, so 3 white bands. Hold them tightly together, slide it through, and again. And before you replace the end, or if you've already done it, you can take the end off. We're going to put 2 bands through on either side. So take 2, place them on the end with your right hand, carefully, slowly slide it on, and bring the other end back onto your hook. You can do this on the loom as well if you're struggling by hand. Maybe we'll do the other arm on the loom just to show you the other method. And another 2 go through the 3 bands on your other side. And this can all go on to double white bands. Place it on the side or leave it on your hook, either is fine. And you can make the other arm in the same way, or you can do it with me on the loom. I'll show you the alternate method. We're going to take 2 bands and come down on each of the top 2 sets of pegs on the side and in the middle. And we place 3 bands across both of those. And then we're going to do it like this. We'll have 3 bands coming down. This is white. And we need 2 sets of 3 black bands. Come down once below that with 3 each time. Double black, double skin tone, and wrap 2 bands twice over that. So to loop up on the loom here, we come under the skin tone at the bottom and bring the double, oops, just need 2 here, the double skin tone up and over. And we're gonna loop straight until we hit that second white. Okay, from here we're going to loop it onto both of those pegs. Okay, I looped it back over the second pegs on either side. We loop up once, and we loop up once. Put your hook through the bands on the top 2 pegs, and we'll slide 2 bands through that. Okay, so we've got our 2 arms. I don't think my second one came out as nicely. Let me just see if I can fix it up a little bit. Yeah, I like the way it looks off the hook better. At any rate, you're going to take your arms, your muscles, and have them on your hook or on a different hook, and we'll put it aside for the moment and start working on the body. Okay, we need, now I'll tell you, for myself I used 4 bands to come from the top center peg to the second peg. You can use all 4 or you can leave it at 2. It is up to you. From here we come down to either side with double black bands from our second center peg to our second peg on the right and to the second peg on the left. We're going to put on shoulder caps, and that's this little part here. For that we need to take, check how many I used, 3 bands, or 2 if you'd like, but I'm going to use 3. Wrap them twice and pull them onto double bands. 2 bands. And this goes from the top peg on the side to the second peg on the side, and we repeat it for the right. Three bands, wrapped twice, pulled onto 2 bands. Now let's come down on the side with double black bands from the second peg to the third peg either side. And we can place our arms now on the second pegs down on either side. Actually, I think I'm going to put this one on the right side so it's facing the way that I'd like it to. You can always turn your arm around or switch the side that it's on if you want it to turn more downwards or upwards or whatnot. In our center row, we're going to come down using double blacks from the second peg to the third peg, the third peg to the fourth peg, and then we switch to blue, double blue for the next 3 sets of the middle row. And we need 2 more sets of double black. And we will finish off to the bottom of the loom using double blue. Okay, let us go back to the sides. And I believe we're going to be using, let me just double check my picture here. Okay, we're going to use blue on the side. It's okay, we can, we'll leave no, we'll take off the black that we have. You can just slide it up over the arm. I'm looking at my picture here, it's in grayscale. My color printer wasn't working, so a little bit hard to tell the blues from the blacks. But we need the blues, the navies. Just slip it over the arm again, and we come down 3 times on either side. Now we want 1 set of double white on either side. And you're going to take 2 blue bands and come from your 5th peg down on top of that white and bring it to the having trouble seeing my picture here one more time, sorry. 1, 2, 3, white, that is correct. 3, no, that's correct. Okay, we want it from the top of the white to the top of where our black starts in the middle, that's in your 7th peg down. And we'll do the same on the right side. And we need 2 sets of double black on either side. And then we'll be coming down the rest of the loom using white, but let me tell you what our numbers look like here. Okay. Now I'm using 4 bands for each set to the bottom of the row. If you want yours to be a little thinner, or you just don't want to work with that many bands or want to save some bands, you can keep it at 2. The 4 I find gives it that nice added thickness though. And in fact, if you want, you can make your middle row thicker as well. But I'm just gonna leave this the way it is for now. I think I did use 3 on the middle one, but I'm gonna keep it with 2 this time around. And I'll make you a side note if I find, or an annotation if I find one way does work better than the other. We're almost at the bottom, and then we'll do our extension, our legs, and folding bands. We're getting close here. Okay, let's do our legs next. And for our legs, we're going to start with our sort of standard boot, but we're extending it a little bit, as I sometimes do. Take 2 black bands, wrap them 2 to 3 times onto your hook. Slide over 2 bands, but don't replace the end. Pinch it with your left hand right on the hook, and with your right hand, right fingers, you're going to take another 2, wrap them twice more in the center, and replace. Try and keep these in order as you slide them over another 2. Don't replace just yet. And pinch again, add 2 more bands. Wrap twice. 3 if you want it tighter. Replace. Pull onto a doubled over single black. And this is going to go on to 3 sets of 3 white bands. So here are 3 bands. I'm going to pull it through. Get another 3 white bands. Pull it through. And another 3 and pull through. And then we'll put this on one of the bottoms of the legs. And we will make the other one exactly the same way, but I might go a little bit faster. 2 bands wrapped twice, 3 times if you want it tighter, pulled onto 2, but leave the end off. Pinch, 2 bands, twist twice. Replace, and repeat. 2 bands, slide through. Pinch, 2 bands, wrapped twice, and replace. And you can see, if you stretch it out, you can see the 3 sections that we've done, and that way you know you've got it right. And we said we were putting this on a doubled over single, so that's what we'll do. These were all black for the boot. And our next 3 sets are going to be triple whites. This goes on to the other side at the bottom of your loom. Now for our holding bands, we aren't going to put any across over the first 2 at the bottom, the first 2 sets of pegs, but we're going to do 3 white triangle bands starting above that at the 3rd peg from the bottom, stretch it across and up over the center. We repeat above that and once more above that with whites. For the next section, we're gonna go by, we can actually do 1 more white above that, or you can use a black, either is fine. Our next one is going to be, again, I can't tell if that's a black or a blue. I think we're using all blacks for the next 2, or the next one, that should be fine. And black above that, and blue. Now here, if you want your upper body to be a little bit tighter, as we are going to add an extension, you can use doubled over bands. If you're okay with it being a little rounder, then you stick with your single stretched across as it is. And 1 more. Okay, let's add our side extension for the upper body, so it looks like he's got, so that he has the white on the side like his kimono. And for our side extensions, we need a single white wrapped once on your hook, and we're going to pull this onto 4 sets of double white bands. So it's a straightforward chain. We're going to go through 1, 2, 3, 4, and this will go onto the 6th peg down if you put your holding cap, starting with your holding cap, and that's where your black starts, and we stretch it up onto the peg that's holding the arm. It's going to be a very busy peg here, and try and grab a piece out of each chain to hook over the pegs that are in between. And then we can make one for the other side. Single wrapped twice, pulled onto 4 sets of double single bands. Turn your loom around and place it on that top, or that band, peg with the black. It's your 6th peg down. Top one comes off of your hook onto your 2nd peg down where the arm is, and we're catching a bit out of each chain to slide onto the pegs. Now we're ready to loop. So let us begin by going up the center, and we're going to stop when we get to the 7th peg down. We need a holding cap on the bottom, so let's wrap that 3 times. And we will come under that and loop straight. Now you're gonna come underneath, get the top 2 blues and bring them up to the 5th peg down on the right side, so back to where they came from. Find your next 2 and loop them back up diagonally to where they came from, push it down a little bit. And we can continue up the center all the way. Stop at the second peg from the top. I should mention that. I'm pushing back any bands other than the bottom two as I'm going, so we only want the bottom two. Okay, center row is done up until the second peg. We'll go back to the bottom on the left side, and we're gonna again loop straight up, but you're only getting your bottom bands. Your first set you'll have 4, and the same for most of your leg. So check that you're getting all of the bands up and that you are pushing back your holding bands as you go. If it's easier, you can always take up 1 or 2 bands at a time. Again, we only want the bottom 2. You can pull them up to the side if it's easier for you to see or grasp. But you're going to be pushing everything else back with the back of your hook as you go upwards. And we do this until we reach the second peg from the top again. Because now, and we really need to push those bands down, you're going to carefully lift up the shoulder piece from the top peg and bring it down to sit on top of the second peg. And now we have to get the bottom 2 black. Push back everything else, pull those up to the side if you need. I'm getting 3 bands here and I only want the 2, so I'm gonna pull them back out and check again. And that comes to the center second peg very carefully. We'll do the same thing on the right side. 4 bands for the leg sections. And then we're getting 2 bands out of each part above. So I'll turn this again to show you when we get to the side here where we have the extension on and these are the black bands from below. You just want the bottom 2 white, and you reach inside and you only take those 2. And that goes for all of the other sets here as you're coming up. You only take the bottom 2. Otherwise you'll be pulling things off of the loom and it's going to come loose or look really wonky. Once more, we're at the second peg from the top. We need to pull down the shoulder piece so that it sits on that second peg. And then we're going to reach inside and get the bottom 2 black bands. And I need to turn my loom around again. We have so many pieces here, I want to make sure I grab the right ones. Very tight, so ease it around carefully and bring up your top bands. I placed 4 when I laid them out, so that's the number that I'm gonna be reaching in. Let's take this off the loom. Don't remove the ones on the top peg. You can put them on a holding band if you like, or just hold on to them as you ease the rest off. Oh, and I can see I missed a couple, so let me catch those again before I go further. I'm just looking as I go if anything's popping out or sticking out or looking really loose. You wanna catch it before it's all off the loom and starting to come out of shape. But so far, this all looks okay to me. So I'm gonna put the hook through, remove it, and this can stay on your hook. You can put it on a holding hook. We'll be using it soon enough. For our head, we're coming back to the top of the loom, and we're using double black bands coming down once to either side from the top center, and then down once on each of the rows. We go to skin tone now, and we come down twice on either side with double skin tone bands. And this you want to be a lighter shade. I'll mention again than the one you used on your hat, or it's all gonna blend. Hopefully you haven't used the same shade on your hands already. We want 3 sets of skin tone bands in the center, and we're gonna close it up from either side, from the 4th side pegs to the 5th center peg with double skin tone bands. For our holding bands, we're going to use doubled over singles, and we'll bring it across the 4th pegs in a triangle formation, and across the 3rd pegs, and above that over the 2nd pegs. For your eyes, if you're using beads or bands, either which way, you're going to get them onto, I'm going to use bands as I said, so I'm wrapping each one 3 times and putting them both together. You're going to get your bands or your beads onto a skin tone band, and stretch it across from the 2nd peg to the 2nd peg coming down. Get your hook in between and bring the middle piece down under the 3rd peg in the center. We're going to put our body on the 5th peg down, transfer the bands over from the neck. Make sure you get them all. And we can loop up, and then we'll do the side cowl and put the hat on. So we come underneath the neck, bring up the 2 to the left, and the 2 to the right, and loop straight to the top. Watch out that you don't grab the piece that's holding the eyes on. We're going to push that back first, get the bottom 2 and come up, and again. And on either side, we're coming in and getting the bottom 2 and looping forward. And loop to the center. Repeat on the left. Bottom 2 bands only, push everything else out of the way. And we will secure this on a holding band, so take a single, put your hook through, catch it. You're going to put the open part of the hook so that it faces away and down. Bring it through again and bring one side over the other. We will take this off of the loom. Okay, now for some of you this is going to be the hardest part, and I'm going to try and go as slowly and show this as clearly as I can. We are going to weave or stitch in the side black part. So this securing band that we tied, you can hide it in the back with the C-clip, or if you'd like you can leave it out for now and we can incorporate it as we weave. I'm just going to use single bands as we go. So I'll start right at the neck, and I'm going to come inside the neck piece, take one from the back and one from the front, and I'll show you what I mean in 1 second. We had 4 bands and we doubled it around because we brought it onto itself, so there are 8. I'm grabbing 2 from the center section, and I'm going to take a single black and slide it through those. Now we grab one or two, well, we'll grab one skin tone band from the next section above that. And I want the one that's closer to the front, but not right at the front. And I'm going to put my other side, the other black band, on top. Okay? We take another black band and we slide it through all three of those. Very carefully so that that doesn't happen. Grab that again. And this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to, again, we have our black band, one side on the finger, one on the hook. We go into the next set and we find a skin tone band that's on the side but close to the front. Put it on the hook, put your black band back. Take a black band, slide it through, and keep it one side on your finger, one on the hook. Go in through the side again and find your next skin tone piece and sandwich it between that and your next black. And we're going to pull through. Now the next little part, it kind of doesn't matter quite as much because this is going to be hidden by the hat. But basically we're going to keep going up, and somewhere along here you can grab that securing band. I'm going to take mine in the next set. So now we're taking black pieces as we go. As I said, it isn't as important in this section where you get your black pieces from. I think like which of the loops you take. I'm going to slide my securing band through because it's so loose. And we're going to get another section sort of at the top and back, or top middle. Take another band, pull it through. And onto the side. It's upside down again. I'll turn it around so you can see it. But we're repeating the same thing. We're taking our black side skin tone and we're putting the other side of the black back on. Then we slide another black through it. And we go to the next one and we're almost done, just a couple more. Grab a skin tone, put the black back on. Now I'm showing you from the back side. Take another black band, pull it through, and we do this just a couple more times until we're right back at the neck. And take a piece out of the neck. You can take two if you want. And I'm actually just going to slide the far side through the other two, or you can grab another band, it's up to you. And this can go onto a C-clip at the back. We'll just weave it in a little bit so that we don't see the C-clip now poking out. So grab a band and pull the far one over the close one. We'll go in a C-clip. Now you take your hat. Mine looks humongous now. And you're going to take some bands of the same color that you used for your hat and get them on hand. You decide where you want it to sit and you're going to press it there. And then you come through from the back with your hook. You slide it through the head and you slide it through the hat. You'll take a hat colored band and pull it carefully back through. Now I have one side on my finger, one side on the hook. I keep this on the hook and I press the hook back through to the front to a nearby spot. And I'm going to grab this piece that's on my hand, put it on the hook, and slide it to the back. And this can be a little bit hard and might take a couple of tries, but you can get it. Okay, I'm still holding the hat against the head, and I have my band on my hook. I come through again from the back, through the head to the front. Take another single, put it on, pull it through, and let's go through one more time. This is the back of the head you're looking at, and I'm going through right near the edge, through the hat, through the head, and we pull that piece back. And this can be woven in and can go on your same C-clip or on a different one if you'd like. And there is your Raiden. I hope you'll check out some of my other tutorials, and thank you for watching.